Hi, everyone, and welcome to Dennis's Coffee Time. You know when you see a smile that it just seems perfect? It's definitely not just about having bright, straight teeth. There's this hidden language of art and science going on, a whole set of principles that our eyes subconsciously pick up on as being beautiful. So today, we're going to decode that language. We're going to break down the composition of a smile, just like an artist would analyze a masterpiece to figure out exactly why some smiles feel so right, so harmonious, while others can feel just a little bit off.
So, here's our game plan. We're going on a little journey, starting with the big picture, the entire face, and then we're going to zoom all the way into the finest details of the teeth. Think of it as a macro to micro approach. We're starting with the canvas, and then we'll get to the final brushstrokes that really complete this piece of dental artwork.
Okay, let's dive right in. Before we even begin to think about the teeth themselves, we absolutely have to understand the canvas they're on, and that's the human face. The most fundamental rule for aesthetic beauty isn't actually about any individual tooth. It's all about the overall balance and harmony of the entire facial structure. That's our foundation.
You see, our brains are just hardwired to look for patterns, and one of the most powerful patterns is parallelism. It's almost subconscious, but we perceive harmony and balance when these 5 key horizontal lines, all the way from the hairline down to the corners of the mouth, are all parallel to the horizon. It just creates this cohesive, unified, and frankly pleasing structure.
Now, when a person smiles, something really important happens. A 6th line appears. This is the incisal plane. It's the line that's formed by the biting edges of the upper front teeth. For a smile to feel balanced and really integrated into the face, this line absolutely must be parallel to all the others. You can think of it as the anchor for the entire smile's composition.
And this is where it gets really fascinating. Our brains are incredibly sensitive to horizontal balance, probably because our whole world is built around a stable horizon line. So a tiny 1 millimeter tilt in the smile, it's immediately jarring. It just breaks that fundamental rule of parallelism. But get this, the vertical midline of the teeth can be off by as much as 4 millimeters, which is 4 times the error, and most people won't even notice it. This tells us, without a doubt, that getting the horizontal alignment perfect is the single most important rule in designing a beautiful smile.
So we've set our stage. We have a perfectly balanced horizontal foundation. Now, every stage needs a star, right? A beautiful composition isn't just a random collection of things. It needs a clear focus to guide your eye. And that brings us to a classic artistic principle, dominance.
But the goal here isn't to create some perfectly robotic, repetitive pattern. Not at all. The ideal is something called dynamic unity. Think about a field of wildflowers. Together, they create this beautiful, unified scene. But if you look up close, every single flower has its own subtle, unique character. That's the life, that's the interest we're aiming for in a natural-looking smile.
Think about it. In any great work of art, the artist will use color or light or placement to draw your eye to a main subject, a protagonist. Without that clear focal point, the whole thing can feel chaotic and unfocused. A beautiful smile is no different. It absolutely needs a star of the show.
And in the cast of the smile, the 2 central incisors are the undisputed stars. Now, functionally, sure, they're 2 separate teeth, but aesthetically, they have to read as one single, dominant, symmetrical unit. They're the protagonist. The teeth right next to them, the laterals and the canines, they're the supporting cast. Their job is to complement the star. And they can, and frankly should, have slight variations to add that dynamic unity we were just talking about.
Okay, so our horizontal plane is set and our star is on stage. Now we need to make sure our star looks the part. This brings us to our second major aesthetic principle, and this is one that can seriously make or break the entire composition, proportion.
This slide is a brilliant example of how proportion can trick our eyes. All 3 of these rectangles have the exact same width, but our brain sees the short one as kind of stout and wide, the tall one as long and narrow, and the one in the middle as balanced and pleasing. It's a really powerful optical illusion, and the very same principle applies to teeth. The shape we perceive is all about the relationship between width and height.
And it turns out, after a ton of research, that for our protagonist, those central incisors, that just right sweet spot is a width to height ratio of about 75 to 80%. This is the second most important factor in smile design. When this ratio is off, the brain sends a little signal that something isn't quite right. Teeth that are too short for their width can look bulky, while teeth that are too long can seem out of place. Nailing this proportion is absolutely essential for creating that immediate, subconscious feeling of aesthetic pleasure.
All right, so let's recap. We have a balanced stage, we have a well-proportioned star, and we've got a talented supporting cast. Now we need to arrange everyone on stage to create a sense of depth and perspective. This is done through our third key principle, and it's what gives a smile life and dimension: gradation.
I'm sure you've seen this before. Think of a classic photograph of a long, straight road or maybe a set of railway tracks. The parallel lines look like they're getting closer and closer together until they eventually meet at a distant vanishing point. Our brain is just hardwired to understand this visual rule of perspective. It's how we see three-dimensional space.
And this is exactly why gradation is the third most crucial rule in smile design. Because a smile isn't a flat wall of teeth, right? It's a three-dimensional feature. If you arranged all the teeth in a perfectly flat straight line, it would look incredibly artificial because it violates the natural laws of perspective our brain expects to see. It would have no sense of depth at all. So instead, a beautiful smile follows this graceful curve that you can see right here. We call this the smile arc, where the edges of the upper teeth follow the gentle curve of the lower lip. This arrangement makes the teeth look like they're getting progressively smaller as they move towards the back, creating that natural vanishing point effect, just like the railway tracks. It's what gives the smile depth, dimension, and a real look of vitality.
Okay, we've covered a ton of ground. We've established our foundation, we've cast our star, and we've arranged the whole scene with depth. For our final step, we need to frame the masterpiece. Let's see how all of these principles come together in the final composition.
I love this analogy. It's just perfect. The lips create the frame for our artwork. A dentist's job is to be the artist, carefully composing the masterpiece, the teeth, inside that frame, using all the principles of harmony, dominance, proportion, and perspective we've just gone over.
So here it is, all laid out on one checklist. A truly harmonious composition is what you get when, number 1, the horizontal plane is correct. Number 2, the central incisors are dominant and well-proportioned. And number 3 and 4, the entire arrangement follows a natural curve of gradation. When these 4 rules are followed, in order of importance, the result is a masterpiece of dental art. We've spent this whole explainer talking about rules and the principles of perfection, but true, captivating beauty often lies in character, not in flawless symmetry. So I want to leave you with a question to think about. What subtle imperfection do you think gives a smile its unique personality? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so share them in the comments below.
Thanks for watching. This is Dentist's Coffee Time. Bye-bye.